Het Tepu family, peace be upon y'all. It's your man, S-ankh Tepra, back with another video on this beautiful Wednesday. How y'all doing, man? I hope y'all are blessed, bro. I know I'm blessed. Too blessed to be stressed. Okay? And I'm excited for this message today, yo. So today I wanted to not only update y'all, but speak a little bit more about this semen retention video that I'm on. Right, I'm on the 5th week of SR, 6th week of my celibacy journey, and you know it's deep. It's deeper than what most people realize. Right, it's deeper than what most men are speaking about. You know, one of the most devoted things you can do between you and the Most High is to retain your seed and to be celibate, especially as a single man. Okay, no doubt about it. And like I said, I'm at day 35. I'm not day 35. I'm on week 5, and I'm on day 36. Excuse me. Juiced watermelon, family. It's delicious. Much more hydrating than water. Believe me, much more hydrating than water. You'd be surprised. H3O2. Shout out to Yaki Awaken. All right. But I wanted to speak on a deeper topic of SR because, you know, I'm at the point in life where I've gotten sick and tired of being sick and tired of allowing myself to be used as a objectification of sex. Okay, and where I previously thought that I was getting something out of casual sex, I was doing nothing but indulging in a energetic and spiritual liability. Okay, 3 years ago, when I began to really take life a lot more serious, I got heavy into entrepreneurship. Right, I was heavy into learning financial literacy, learning how to better my life, better my finances, better my mind, so that I could change the environment around me. Right, I could start to live a life that I loved and love that a life that I lived. And one concept that I started to learn was financial assets and financial liabilities. Right, assets grow your money, liabilities drain your money. Now, I forgot where I learned this from, right? I want to say shout out to 19 Keys, but it's been a beautiful analogy to your energetic assets and your energetic liabilities. SR falls under the category of an energetic. SR falls under the category of an energetic asset, like being a multi-family real estate owner, multi-home real estate owner. Why? Because you're holding on to one of the most powerful forces that your body is producing, and that is your seminal fluid. Okay, if it's powerful enough to produce life, imagine how powerful it is as it manifests itself through your ideas, through your creativity, and through your hard work. Right, it's not currently being used to create a baby, but then that same force is being used to create a business opportunity. It's being used to cultivate a relationship with a future wife. It's being used to cultivate friendships and connections, partners for network and associations in any capacity. You see, energy cannot be created or destroyed. Right? It can only be transformed, right? Or transmuted. And so I find myself, like I said earlier, being sick and tired of transmuting my energy into what felt like an abyss of nothingness that I was not getting anything in return. And I'm starting to learn by the age of 27 that Not everything requires you to have to go through again and again and again and again to learn the lesson of it so that you can graduate from it. But this is one of those things that I did have to learn time and time and time again of wasting my seed so that I now know how to protect and love that aspect of myself. You see what I'm saying? And consider my body more of a sacred temple, because even though I'm not biblically based, I understand the Bible, right? But even in the Bible it says God dwells in a temple not built by the hands of man. Well, what temple is not built by the hands of human beings? This temple right here, right? We might be able to procreate together and produce a human temple, but we did not create the human temple. So God dwells within. And fortunately unfortunate, and I say fortunately unfortunate because it took the unfortunate experience of me not treating my body like it's a temple for me to fortunately start to seriously understand the depths of treating my body like a temple. And I think a lot of you, men and women, can understand where I'm coming from when you are living this lifestyle and you have a set of habits and thoughts and beliefs and actions that you're taking, and it doesn't seem to be pouring back in terms of you receiving the benefits of the totality of the actions and ideas and thoughts that you're having. So, repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Therefore, if we want to change our life, if we want to have a different life, there needs to be radical changes in our thoughts and in our actions. And that's where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at with it, family. I want to show y'all something. Okay. So when I was younger, I used to draw a lot. I used to love drawing, and I fell off from that. And since I've started getting back in tune with myself, meditating, eating healthier, just spending more time with self, my creativity and my urge to draw came back. Okay, I used to spend a lot of time in video games, and I used to love and obsess over gaming in PUBG. All right, love me some PUBG. But I had to let that go. I had to sacrifice that to God and to my higher self, quote unquote, if you will, so that I could spend more time cultivating behaviors and disciplines that produced more of that produced more results in my life. Okay, so I started drawing more, I started reading more. Okay, and in the Kemetic science and philosophy that I practice, the Osirian religion, symbols are used to meditate on, so that when you go through crossroads in your life, for example, let's just say this crossroad right now. Okay, I am currently meditating on being able to respond to lust with a indwelling peace within my being, and a type of peace that reminds me and empowers me that because I'm at peace, I do not have to give in to lust. And I'm at peace because I was made in the likeness of God. In ancient Egyptian spirituality, better known as the Kemetic way of life, Black African people understood that they were made in the likeness of God. But they had different principles of understanding what this likeness was. And when you lived the truth of those principles, which is what they call ma'at, you would be able to claim and experience true righteousness and be able to experience the essence of God. But you had to go beyond belief. You had to go beyond theory. You had to go beyond faith, and you had to be in the knowing, because the knowing was the only way you, the Most High, and everyone around you could guarantee that you actually could speak from experience instead of just belief. You don't believe you have a mother. You don't believe you have a child, right? You don't believe you went to bed last night. These are the things you know. Why? Because when it comes to reality, knowing is a higher quality and accuracy of understanding something than believing, with all due respect to other religions and backgrounds. But I'm just speaking the truth, okay? So one day when you're gonna want a wife, one day when you're gonna want a husband, it is important that you know that you are a loyal partner, okay? Beyond belief, it's very important that you have a cultivated process, a cultivated knowledge of knowing your loyalty, knowing your trustworthiness versus just believing or just thinking, right? Fellas, do you think you're faithful to your wife? Uh-oh. Or do you know that you're faithful to your wife? And don't let anybody play with your mind saying, oh, well, it's just semantics. No, it's not just semantics, right? Your wife asks you, where were you last night? Well, I think I was. You think? Well, I believe you believe. Cop pulls you over. Sir, do you have any guns in the car? Well, I believe I. No, sir, there's no guns in the car. That's a statement of knowing, you see? So what we're talking about here is truth. We're talking about the chord, the force of truth here. When you're speaking, when you're articulating yourself, right? When you're understanding reality. And in the Kemetic tradition, truth was not a subjective concept or reality. Now, truth can be relative, but it's not subjective. Truth has a absolute to it, ultimately, right? And it would be considered more of a force of nature than a concept in the human mind. Let me say that again. Truth in the Kemetic science, spiritual science, is a force of nature more than it is a concept in your mind. Why? Because when the Most High created reality, the Most High used what is considered metaphysical laws. And these metaphysical laws adhere to and ensure the order of things behind the basis of the physical reality. So human beings, unlike other, sentient life forms, we understand that morality is very important. Other animals do not necessarily have to adhere to morality, okay? A alligator does not have to adhere to a moral code. A lion does not have to adhere to a moral code. What a baboon does and what a baboon doesn't do does not carry the same weight as what a man does and what a man does not do. All right. And so one aspect of the culture that I've recently came across, and I think it's just such a beautiful and amazing, powerful, not only concept, but truth, right? A principle, is the principle of men. M-I-N, right? And I think it's interesting that this Kemetic principle is called men, M-I-N, because we know man, M-E-M-A-N, men, M-E-N in English language, but this is Kemetic language, M-I-N, men, right? And, you know, here is the hieroglyphic for the principle men. Now, if you were to look this up online, you will see that it's a black man with it's unfinished, I'm drawing it, right? With the erect phallus and a flail over his head, with the crown of Tem, okay? And here's the full picture, okay? You'll see the hieroglyphs depict him as fully black with an all white, what I would call that, royal gown on, excuse me, okay? And what the Egyptologists have ignorantly confused as phallus worship was actually not worshiping the male phallus whatsoever. In the book, the Metu Neter, Volume 1, The Great Oracle of Tahuti and the Egyptian System of Spiritual Cultivation by Ra-Un Nefer Amen, this is one of the most sophisticated breakdowns of Kemetic spirituality I've ever come across. This book is not only a philosophical, religious, and scientific understanding of the Kemetic culture and Egyptian culture, but it's also a manual through which the application of the sciences brought forth in this book gives the initiate the true understanding of what the author is talking about. So unless somebody applies the teachings, they do lack the ma'at, or the truth of what the teachings are talking about. That's the difference between intellectualism and knowledge, right? Very, very, very interesting when you think about it. Like, on your SR journey, on your celibacy journey, you might notice men or women who talk about wanting to be celibate, right? Or who believe that they can be on SR, but you know that you only are going to listen to, and you can only really respect people who have done it and people who are speaking from experience. So not only am I studying the material, I'm well into the point of the application of the material brought forth in this book. So I just want you to keep that in mind, okay? Now, what I just showed you, the principle men, I find this very interesting that our ancestors understood this principle a long time ago, and unfortunately, it's not like African people have the current authority over the institutions that teach about the history and the archaeology and anthropology of Kemet. All right, those are in the hands of pretty much Indo-Europeans and Arabs. All right, but the hieroglyphic men, as Ra-Un Nefer Amen breaks down here, says men, this deity represents the attainment of success through discipline, symbolized by the flail raised overhead, and the cultivation of a high libido, yet moderated sexual indulgence, symbolized by the erect phallus. Men was chiefly depicted in this form, standing at the top of stairs, where he received the offerings of the first fruits. And the flail that is on top of, that he's holding on top of his head, the flail, this is the sign of dominion and leadership through the outer show of force. But this is the force of Heru, who declares his authority by being an exemplar of strength of character and the role of truth. So I've looked online at Egyptologist understanding of men, and I find that it took this very perverted explanation of pharaohs like masturbating into the river, and they were just worshiping the male phallus, and I always thought that didn't make any sense. But in reading a um, a specialist in the actual practices of the sciences of Kemet, because I don't think Egyptologists consider themselves to be practitioners of Kemetic spirituality, right? They study, they're academics, right? Some of them might be Christian, some of them might be atheists, right? But Raul Nefer actually, exemplifies a thorough understanding of the religious spiritual aspect of it, right? And so it's just interesting that, especially here, if you all are from the United States, you understand that hypersexuality is running rampant in this country, right? I'm a byproduct of it, right? Corn is free, and it's ironic that one of the most powerful civilizations ever known, they had a deity, and he breaks down that a deity is not a god that is worshipped that is understood not as a god that's worshipped by the priesthood class, right? The people who actually understand the science, but a principle, a force of nature that you understand so that you embody. Because worshiping idol will take you nowhere, but embodying the principle of what the symbol represents will change your life. And this makes so much sense, okay? And so, I want to pierce through the illusion of ignorance and racism when it comes to these ancient African civilizations, because they haven't gotten their fair representation in the United States public education, let's be honest, right? The ancient African civilizations that were the progenitors of humanity, we never really learned about that in school. And when you find that men, in especially my generation, we were born into this hypersexual culture that looks at sex as a straight up toy, no regard for the sacredness whatsoever. And putting the sacredness to the side, even scientifically, those of you all that are on your SR journey, you may not have a peer-to-peer review study, but you know from experience what starts to happen as you protect your seed on longer streaks. You know what you're talking about. You don't need somebody in a white coat to come and tell you, sir, you don't have to don't continue your SR journey until we can prove scientifically what the benefit. You don't need that. You can speak from experience. You can speak from a knowing. And I think it's important. Well, it is important to know the truth that this concept is nothing new, right? And when we put the perversion to the side, because I get that there's a lot of perversion today, but that doesn't mean we have to view ancient cultures as perverted. Maybe our paradigm and how we view things is mostly perverted, and they had a more scientific, they had a more sacred way of understanding things. So there was no perversion for a man standing with an erect phallus. It was just symbolic of high libido, or what we call life force energy, right? Fellas, we know high libido matters. As a matter of fact, many of you all are aware that the number one killer in the category of cancer for men in the United States is what? Prostate cancer. And a symptom of prostate cancer is what? Low libido. So here you have a symbol from 4,000, 5,000 years ago that is highlighting the importance of high libido. Like it said, high libido, but moderated sexual indulgence. It didn't say no sex. I want you all to be very clear. This is not brahmacharyan. Sorry if I'm not saying it correctly. And while I respect that way of life, brahmacharyan is no sexual desire, no sexual indulgence whatsoever. I don't adhere to that. I think one day becoming a husband or becoming a wife is as part of the divine plan, and your oneness with God as the part in which you are treating your body as sacred and you're celibate and you're not giving it to anybody. I think both are very important aspects to your growth and to your spiritual growth. Okay. But I find it ironic, fellas, ladies, that prostate cancer is the #1 killer for men. And even a lot of men report, and a lot of women can testify, that in our 20s, in our 30s, especially 40 and up, a lot of men are experiencing low libido, low sexual drives. A lot of men are not even really having sex. So we're struggling with this issue of high libido. This is not a want. This is a need. And I'm not saying you gotta practice Kemetic spirituality. What I'm saying is we have to respect and understand and value principles of nature. And one of the principles of nature is high libido is behind the success in life. High libido, but moderated sexual indulgence. And maybe if we had a proper historical understanding in the first place in our education, we could have been taught this in the first place. So I just wanted to incorporate that historical and spiritual psychological aspect there, because this SR journey is not just some placebo effect happening in our minds. This has several thousand years behind it. This has wisdom of antiquity behind it. And we know that civilizations back then, they were responsible for science, architecture, government, right? Engineering, agriculture, all types of things, language, you name it, right? They created seemingly more than what we create today, and they did it seemingly more for a righteous reason. And versus today, our leaders are creating better technology for money. Unfortunately, not all, but too many. Okay, so yeah, Joe, I just want to give you that aspect and show you what I'm working on. The men symbol that I'm drawing that symbol. I'm gonna color it in. I'm gonna put embed it into my psyche that when the crossroad test of lust comes to me, not only can I meditate on the principle of peace of what we call amen, but I also have a symbol. Because when you meditate on symbols, when you go into a state of meditation, and you'll know you're doing this properly and efficiently, when you go into trance, you're able to reprogram your subconscious. This is one of the keys to success in the Kemetic science and the Kemetic spiritual cultivation system, is to induce a state of trance, impose righteous ideas into your trance states, and then allow your subconscious to manifest those new righteous desires. Because the will alone is not enough to override the power of the subconscious, or what we call the spiritual body, especially when you've been conditioned with a lot of the bullshit that this country has conditioned us with. So I want you to really think about that on your success journey and on your overall pursuits of discipline and dominion over lusts. Because that's what we're really talking about in this aspect, is our battle with lust. Okay, that's why in some traditions, lust was depicted, emotions were depicted as a dragon or a serpent, right? Adam and Eve, was it a literal talking snake, or was the snake symbolic of the elusiveness and the slipperiness of your emotions, which come and go, right? They're cyclical. Maybe you feel like this time of the month. You feel like this that time of the day. She's angry now. She's laughing then. Cycles, elusiveness, come and go. And unfortunately, so many of us follow our emotions versus facts, versus understanding, versus truth. right? So maybe that serpent whispering in her ear was the same type of whispering that happens when she's not around you, and you know y'all have been in a loyal relationship together, but the lust is whispering in her ear that, oh, he's a six-figure man, or the lust is whispering in his ear like, maybe my girl would never know. Because I can tell you right now, I've never seen a talking snake, but I see a lot of people who talk to their emotions more than they talk to God. That's just what I see. I don't know about what you see, right? So this stuff is deep, y'all. This stuff is deep, and a lot of people say it's not that deep. They say it's not that deep, and then they're following their emotions. So be mindful of who you listen to. Be mindful of what guides you, and what God do you serve, right? Do you serve the God known as your emotions, or do you serve the God of truth, right? Of righteousness, of principles, of understanding. Hell, even to a degree of science. I'm not all for just believing science and adhering to science just because of science. Science needs to work in the support of understanding the supreme being in its creation. All right. And that's also partially what I'm bringing to this channel, is that religion is not supposed to be opposed to science. In the Kemetic tradition, there is the fundamental basis of the relationship between man, woman, right, and God is a relationship of knowledge. It's not a relationship of belief. It is okay, it is understandable to initially have a faith in God and a belief in God, but one has to graduate into the maturity of knowing God by living the truth of the principles and primordial forces that the Most High has instilled within nature and within us. And to discover these principles, to realize these principles, not only has Ra Unefer Amen brought a lot of them forth, but other traditions through meditations, through rituals, through ceremonies, right, through deep states of contemplation, they've been able to intuitively come to the realization, what they call self-realization, of what these divine principles were. That's why we call these people shamans, priests, oracles, diviners, prophets, right? These are your, you know, how many people do you know worship Michael Jordan? How many people do you know worship Kobe Bryant? How many people do you know worship Michael Jackson, right? Mariah Carey, right? Megan Thee Stallion, Jay-Z, Beyonce. If people can worship them, why can't we celebrate and honor the people who spend all of their lives to grow spiritually and become one with God, such as a prophet or an oracle or a, you know, I would say psychic, but just because you're a psychic does not mean you're righteous necessarily, right? It's about the righteousness, and it is the spiritual power that God endows you with because of your spiritual growth. All right, y'all. So, yo, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I know I did. I really, hey, there's more to it, man. There's more to it. That was the tip of the iceberg, man. It goes deeper. SR goes deeper. Okay? Like, we want success, right? We want life-changing success. It's our birthright, and we shall have it. I shall have it. All right? And I hope to be able to inspire y'all along this journey to be able to do the same. I hope y'all appreciate this video, man. Subscribe to the YouTube if you love what you were watching today. If you enjoyed, if you learned something new, drop a comment. Tell me your thoughts, man. What are y'all going through in your SR journey or your celibacy journey? Or even if you're not on the journey, what are your thoughts about where the moral code is at in the world today, especially over here in America? What do you think about what's going on with morality? Do we need a moral code? Where is society headed? I want to know y'all thoughts, man. Tap in with me, family. I'm going to drop my link tree in the description. If y'all are interested in consultations, hit your man up, man. All right. So I'm going to land with that. I hope y'all have a beautiful Wednesday. Peace to the family, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Ashe.